welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be using my least favorite art supplies slash least used art supplies. So my goal for this video is to actually enjoy using them. I'm hoping I'm able to incorporate these things into my regular routine. It makes me uncomfortable that I have things sitting around that I'm not using, but I feel like I can't get rid of. I want to have fun with them again, and I want to incorporate them back into my life. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so we're starting with my Prismacolor pastels. I really loved pastels in my art journey in high school, and I used them for a little bit, but then I was skipping around mediums a lot in high school so much that I kind of just fell away from it, and I started getting into like acrylics and oil paints and stuff like that. I don't know what it is about the sound of pastels. I used to be able to handle it. Now it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Ooh! I just haven't gotten a lot of use out of them, and now that I'm a mixed media artist, I would love to include them into my art. Next we have watercolor pencils. Like I said before, I was getting more into paints, so I started getting into watercolor, and I thought watercolor pencils would be a really cool and efficient way to create art. That being said, I haven't used them as much either. It makes me so sad. I feel like back when I was younger, I was so scared to use things that I knew had value placed on them, because I knew as soon as it ran out, I would not be able to do anything to replace it. I have gotten to a place in my life where I am comfortable using the things that I have.
Turns out my problem with this is worse than I thought, because I bought a milkshake for me and my boyfriend, but I ended up hating the milkshake. And the two shakes cost $7, so I freaked out because I spent $7 on absolutely terrible milkshakes. And I would never ask for a refund because I've been a service worker for almost all of my adult life, and I can't bring myself to be that customer, but also $7 is so much money when you think about it. That's a chipotle bowl down the drain. The work I put in to make that money was completely wasted. So I think this is something I should bring up with a therapist. LOL, we have fun.
I should Google this.
Oh.
And lastly, we have my metallic paints. So my metallic paints, I loved. I bought these in my adulthood actually, and I love the way they look. These paints take like a few minutes to activate if you want that full metallic potential, and something about me just being a lazy sack of shit. But I want to get back into using them because I think they're delightful. Like, nothing is more delightful than highlighting something, so it's probably even more delightful to make it shiny, so that's what I want to do. Sup, bitches. So this video is probably gonna be super long because it took me a while to accomplish my goal. So if you want to see me struggle and then succeed, you have to watch the whole thing. I'm sorry. See ya. One of the biggest reasons that I never use these watercolor pencils is because I never really knew how to. I knew the different techniques, but they never worked out for me before, and I'm theorizing that they never worked out because I didn't have proper watercolor paper, because now as I'm using them, they're quite delightful. I actually love them with my whole heart, and I think it was just because I didn't have the right paper, to be honest. I remember when I used to color down a layer of watercolor pencil and I'd put the paintbrush to it, it would just kind of like ball up and the pencil texture would stay underneath, and it was super frustrating. And I would look up all different kinds of techniques, but they all seemed very tedious, and it made no sense to use these versus using watercolors. But now that I'm using proper paper, it's actually very delightful to use. It's super simple, and I can see this being easy for like a quick on the go thing because you're not having to deal with a palette. You just slap some color down, and maybe when you get home you activate it. I don't know. Just some thoughts. Just some of my thoughts for you. Maybe that's something I'll do in the future. I'll try to figure out how to optimize going out and drawing. I did struggle with the line work of this though. I went through a bunch of pens before I finally landed on my Tombow Fudenosuke. None of my other fine liners really wanted to work over top the pastels, but my Tombow is the real trooper. It always has been. We always knew it was. I'm a huge Tombow Fudenosuke fan, and you should be too. For this next page, I wanted to experiment with the watercolor pencils and try to keep some of the watercolor texture and the pencil texture. So I scribbled the color onto the page, and then I taped the edges so that when I activate the watercolor, the pencil parts will stay on the outskirts. This is just me doing a thing. I'm not saying it's amazing, but I tried something new and I'm proud of myself for it. Something I love about watercolors is the fact that you're able to lay down a lot of color effortlessly, and I think that's the one thing these watercolor pencils lack. The fact that I would have to color for quite a bit of time just to get some color down before even activating the watercolor was kind of frustrating, and I can see myself not necessarily using these like I use typical watercolors. So this spread is probably not my favorite spread of all time, but what I can say, it was a very relaxing process for me, being able to just lay down some color, mess with some pastels sloppily and hoping they turn out as clouds, just throwing on some color to make it look like there are plants going down this archway. It was just therapeutic, and it was a good way to feel out the medium. I learned that pastel noises still freak me out. I had headphones on, was full blast listening to something just so I couldn't hear the pastels rubbing against the paper. I legitimately have been cringing the entire time I've been making this video. I'm editing it right now and still dying. I had to turn the volume down on all of them because it's just, I can't handle it. I can't handle it. I love the way they look, I just can't handle it. So for everyone who is just like me, get your favorite playlist on and choose not to suffer. I also would like to add that the pastels reacted strangely to the watercolor underneath, mainly on the parts that had very thick layers of watercolor on them. Everything else, it worked out pretty fine. And here I'm going to be outlining the clouds a bit. I am using a watercolor pencil, so that's another thing about these. It's kind of like 2-in-1. You get 2 different textures with 1 medium, and that's kind of cool if you think about it. Next, I'm going to be adding some metallic stars all over the place. I think this part sparked my love for metallic paints again. It's just so satisfying. I know it can be kind of cheesy. It's gimmicky, it's gaudy, but what can I say? It sparkles and I like it, alright? Time is a friend, and that will never... It is late and I need to spray fixative on this thing. It's cold outside. This is what I got, and so far it is magic. You're coming with me, buddy. I didn't give it enough coats. So after more layers, it was perfect. I will be careful, I will be shrewd, giving time to what I should. still on the trying to figure this out train, and I decided to do a bunch of doodles because that feels in my comfort zone. I still struggled a lot with this, but this is just one more step to me figuring it out. Trust me, this is step 2. I'm on my way. I promise you I'll figure it out. I promise you. This layout did make me feel more comfortable with the materials, so I think that's a win. So recently I've become a My Hero Academia stan. My fave is Todoroki.
Todoroki starts with a crazy ice blast!
But that's only because I relate the most to his backstory. But I have a soft spot in my heart for Bakugo, so that's where I stand, but also where I stand, you know what I'm saying? This is me trying to draw Todoroki as a real human being, and fun fact, I'm not very good at drawing male human beings. So this was very out of my comfort zone for me. I struggled so much. And I'm not very good at drawing people in general, but I don't know what it is about dudes. Dudes are so hard to draw for me. The face proportions just do not compute. So I struggled a bunch, but I fought through it until I thought I could no longer fight through it. One positive that I really like about watercolor pencils is the fact that you can get a very pastel tone no matter what color you're using, and it's just based on how much pencil you lay down, not based on how much water you add to it. That's super helpful for me because when you add a bunch of water to watercolors, I feel like it reacts with the paper strangely. I don't know if that's just me not knowing how to use watercolor properly, but I feel like this is a good cheat for me in the meantime. Anyways, the reference I was using was of a guy smoking a cigarette, but I'm not really into cigarettes, so I had him smoke a joint instead. You know what? No one needs a break more than these fools. So I added a layer of the metallic paint onto the crystals, and obviously it does not look the best, but I tried it out. It's not very opaque when you lay it down like it's a watercolor. You have to really like get it thick and then lay it down in like globs.
Waking up, my wandering eyes, all the havoc
Don't love it. I'm so bad at drawing men, but at least I tried. Here is the mess that this video is causing. There's nothing I can do about it. On to the fourth one. Hopefully this one will work for me. Wish me luck. So I'm officially integrating these items into my mixed media art. This was the original goal for this video, so I feel very satisfied with the spread. I swear I was not gonna stop until I made something I enjoyed. And I'm glad I didn't. For this spread specifically, I allowed myself to do whatever I wanted. I kept the mindset that if I needed the tools that I've been using throughout this video, then I'll use them. But if I don't want to use them, then I won't. And if I want to use something else, then I will. So I treated this end product as if it was just a normal day for me, so I no longer had to deal with the boundaries I was setting on myself. I also just traced Todoroki for the one little window that he's in, and I think we need to remember sometimes that art is supposed to be fun. Yeah, don't go out and take someone's artwork and copy it to the T, but if you're not harming anyone and it's just for you, I think it's okay if you trace characters, if you have fun and be creative. I don't know, that's just my cup of tea. Don't take someone's art and claim it's your own, but I think it's okay to have fun and not everything has to be from your hand and from the grace of God himself. Just enjoy yourself. It's been a long time since I've sat down, watched, and thoroughly enjoyed an anime. I've gone full-blown weeb, y'all. It's who I am now. I can't help it. But if you watch My Hero Academia, you gotta let me know who your fave characters are. Alright? I wanna know who you stan and why you stan. And I just need someone to weeb out with me. Okay, that's all I need. These are also very convenient to use as opposed to watercolor palettes because they dry super quick. I theorize that they dry quicker because you're not using as much water as you would with normal watercolor. They're also super satisfying to use. Like, I enjoyed the activation stage of it because it was just like overall very satisfying. I think the standout product I've been using are the watercolor pencil. I am still adjusting to the pastels, but I have them readily on deck so I can try them out a little more.
Oh, but someday. Summertime is near.
I would like to suggest something to people who do mixed media art and use a bunch of water in their pieces. If you are on the fence about the Prismacolor Cold Erase pencils, I think you should just pull the trigger and do it, to be honest. I was super skeptical about them for a while because I'm like, why do I need colored pencils if I have regular pencils at work? But they don't react the same way that pencils do when you put watercolor on top of them. They kind of blend in a little bit and add a very sketchy, cool effect to it. So you don't really have to worry about doing line work first or like erasing enough so it doesn't smudge into your pieces. You just like kind of do whatever you want and not have to think about it. I've also had a lot of fun with the stencils that I got in my last AliExpress haul. I'm legitimately like a little obsessed with them. Probably like one of my most used things, to be honest, because I feel weird using stamps in my sketchbook. It kind of feels like I'm cheating a little bit, even though I know it's really not that deep. But if I use stencils, it just feels like I'm refining my craft. I don't know, you know, some kind of bullshit. I feel like I've also been trying to step out of my comfort zone with my art a little bit. I don't really do as much as I used to. Like, I used to post every single day on Instagram and I used to draw every single day. But now I feel like I'm just taking my time with what I'm doing and trying to make the best out of my skills and improve myself. And I don't know, are you guys doing anything to step out of your comfort zone recently? I know a lot of us are stepping out of our comfort zone when it comes to this coronavirus thing. I didn't really want to talk about it because I feel like everyone's already talking about it already, but hope everyone's safe out there and staying positive. And I'm sorry to everyone affected. Anyways, here's a little flip through of my little journey through my least favorite art supplies. My favorite is for sure the last spread that I did, and that's mainly because I did not stop until I created my favorite, and I'm proud of myself for that. I had a lot of fun, I learned a lot about myself, and that's all you can really ask for. You gotta let me know which one is your favorite, alright? I need to know, alright? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next week. Bye!